Earthrise Deluxe Class Lifeline. This figure was released in 2020 as part of the Paradron Medics 2-pack in Amazon's Galactic Odyssey series, and is a redeco of Transformers Earthrise Deluxe Class RC. Lifeline transforms into a quintessential medical transportation vehicle, a mint green bathtub on wheels. All jokes aside, this space car of the futuristic year of 2006 looks pretty good. Look at the curves. Elegant, isn't it? Beautiful. Sensual. Built to evoke the body of the ideal woman. Stark white, pale as the skin of one who's been drained of all their fluids, graces the headlights, front grille, and the hood vent while also taking up the majority of the badonka trunk. A smooth, flat gray lines the sideboards and matches with the somewhat scant interior. That's gotta be the tiniest steering wheel I've ever seen outside of a go-kart, and the dashboard renders the windshield all but useless. Not that there could be any passengers, as the cockpit is all a facade. Strange, that. A colorless, translucent antenna juts from the rear of the end, similarly to Blur's. It's removable. Now sit down for a minute. Son, while this car may look like a pretty lady, she's a liar and a cheat, and don't you forget it. One look under this pretty missy's skirt will tell you all you need to know. She's hiding a body. Now, isn't that relatable? Son, this right here is a bona fide shell former, one of the worst examples I've ever seen in my life. Just by taking one glance, you can see that absolutely none of the vehicle mode integrates into the robot, and vice versa. On top of this, the car shell doesn't even lock together well, as these side panels just love to pop out at the slightest provocation. At least down here there's weapon storage at the front, as well as up top on the front fender. Lifeline's transformation is very visceral. Basically, you crack her in half, peel her open, and pull out her innards with your bare hands, feeling them writhe between your well, maybe scratch the writhing part. Most of the work is done by the aforementioned huge-ass backpack, though I'd wager that it only does as much work as the average communist. Lifeline's limbs are just stuffed haphazardly underneath the chassis like a large piece of roadkill, and I imagine I handle this figure with similar distaste. I'm gonna be candid for a moment. I really fucking hate G1RC's design. This isn't me being some kind of woke scold having a shit fit over unrealistic body standards for women or some other asinine talking point, but the fact of the matter is that RC's design just isn't conducive for a good transformation or a good alternate mode. That being said, this probably isn't the best figure to use as a sacrificial lamb for this particular fixation of mine, since she doesn't even try in the first place. The prime example of this that really rankles my lymph nodes is that Lifeline's chest has a little swooshy swoosh under-tit accent that is clearly meant to be the front bumper of the car, ironically being less egregious with the boobage than the likes of the Datsuns, but the actual component is stuck behind her head. The actual robot herself is fine, I suppose. Arms and legs where they need to be, and a body connects them sure enough. Her hands do that weird thing all fembots seem to do nowadays where they don't make proper fists for whatever reason. Has anyone else noticed this? She can use them to hold on to her clear plastic Energon infuser, which is really just a pistol. She can also use binoculars! This brings us to the head sculpt, which is about as RC as you can get, this time in spearmint flavor. Her very, very lavender face, a color found nowhere else on the figure, makes her look like she's holding her breath. Maybe she's into it. Finally, we get to the crux of what makes this figure so bad. The backpack. When I say backpack, I mean backpack. More than double the depth of her body, and extending past both her head and her ass, this thing is absolutely enormous and completely indefensible. As a sort of consolation prize, the wonderful engineers at Hasbro decided to force some play pattern out of it by making it detachable. I will admit, amputating the tumor does wonders for the patient's overall health, but doesn't fix the root problem, guys. The kibble folds out on some irksome clicky hinges to form the single most pathetic excuse of a hoverboard I've ever seen since my cousin came home with those no-hands segways. There are holes on the bottom of Lifeline's feet that are able to fasten onto the pegs on top of this hunk of plastic. Yay. Now, Mav, have you learned your lesson?
Yes.
Now, Mav, since this is technically a collab, I'm going to let you do the articulation segment. Doesn't that sound fun, Mav? Doesn't that sound fun, Mav?
Yeah. It sounds fun.
Our articulation is something on this figure. Oh god, let me tell you, she has a ball-jointed head. Oh boy. Please don't hurt me. She has universal shoulder joints where T-pose, huh? Haha. funny T-pose. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. A bicep swivel, a bend in the elbow, wrist pivot, which isn't very useful for most poses, but like she can do this. Haha, yeah, look at that. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? She has a waist swivel, a thigh swivel, and universal thigh joints. A knee swivel, or another double thigh swivel, I'm not sure. But you know, either way, it adds. And the double joint at the knee. And an ankle pivot. And yeah, she can do... Her posability is alright. It's alright. It's not good. It's not great. It's not bad though. It's not like she's missing anything. However, with how compromised, oh my god, how compromised this figure is, I would expect more. You know, if the robot mode is the top priority, give me all of it, right? That's what I would want. But even then, I would rather have a good toy. Please tell me this is sufficient enough for you. Please tell me this is sufficient enough. Oh god. Oh god.
We all have our regrets. Things we never would have expected we were capable of. Things we'll never be free from. I like to imagine Earthrise LIFELINE is like that for the design team at Hasbro. This thing is absolute garbage. Antithetical to everything that counts as a Transformer, LIFELINE just completely forgoes any sort of effort, yet still expects you to treat her as if she's worthwhile and special. LIFELINE isn't worth her weight in pocket lint. She undisputably earns the rank of catastrophic. If you liked this video, or otherwise think I should free MAV Station from my basement, then please subscribe for more reviews like this in the future, and feel free to suggest topics for future reviews in the comments. I'd like to thank my good friend MAV Station for being able to appear on the channel.
It was nothing.
This has been Kit Katastrophe.
And this has been MAV Station.
Transform and roll out.